What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte coming to you with another video today as we are heading north. In fact, we're heading specifically to the true north. So we are heading to Winnipeg to look at the Winnipeg Jets. What a season it's been for the Winnipeg Jets so far this season. And I got to see them in person the other day. Living in New York, I was able to go to the Garden, watch the Rangers, but I was kind of watching the Winnipeg Jets because they were the star of the show in Manhattan the other night when I went to their game between the Rangers and the Jets. I have to catch myself there. So, I have a lot of thoughts about the Jets. I really haven't talked about the Jets much this season, and, there's a ton of reasons why I don't talk about the Jets all that much. One, they're a Canadian team, so I don't really get to watch as many Canadian games as I do, say, some of the original 6 teams in the States. Just because of my geographical reasons and the fact they're not in my Islanders division, I don't watch them all that much. That might have been the first or second time I've actually seen the Winnipeg Jets live. When I kind of watch the Jets, they're kind of a team that's like, they're in the periphery and I don't always think about them. But the other night, holy cow, the Winnipeg Jets, if you guys haven't been watching the Jets, you might want to start now. And this has been a team that's had an up and down season. They've had their really good moments really early on. They had a little bit of a lull for a little bit, kind of the winter blues. And now they are turning the corner going into the playoffs and are looking extremely dangerous. And we're going to take a look at the Jets in today's video. So let's just start right off the bat. Let's look at their record, where they're sitting, and kind of their situation right now. So the Winnipeg Jets right now, 44, 19, and 5 is their record, 93 points. That's first in the Central Division. Now, to get rid of the ad here, we're just going to look at their standings here, and pretty impressive for the Jets, right? You look at where they're sitting right now, the row 44, which I believe is the best in the NHL. Okay, so the Rangers also have 44 row. So both of these teams are extremely, extremely good between the Rangers and the Jets. I was really excited to watch that game. And, look at this team's home record. They don't even have 10 regulation losses this season. The thing about the Jets that's really exciting that I at least noticed, obviously the big guy that everybody's been talking about over the last week and a half is Tyler Toffoli, right? He's come in and really made a difference for this team. And, he's one of those guys that in the game I watched, he actually didn't play that good against the Rangers, but I know a lot of hype has been around him. And the fact that he's really gelled and fit in well with that Jets lineup is very exciting and definitely something that we've all been kind of looking for. And another thing that's really exciting, and I saw this in person, the emergence of really what I see in terms of respect for guys like Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor. Really, really good hockey players. And I always knew they were good, but seeing Kyle Connor in person, man, he's a really good hockey player. He is really, really solid. He had a ton of opportunities against the Rangers. And, there were some other guys like Adam Lowry who also played really well. They really stood out, in my opinion. Watching Josh Morrissey skate, he is just fantastic. He was really stunning the Ranger fans there with some of his moves and just how fast he is. A really fast puck-moving defenseman. It's the guys that you expect to talk about, right? The typical suspects you would expect to be playing well in Winnipeg, they're playing well right now. And then, like I said, at the deadline, they were able to add to that with guys like Tyler Toffoli. And not to mention, Connor Hellebuyck has been Connor Hellebuyck. He's playing really well. And now he's got the team in front of him that's playing really well. That's just it's just enough of the right recipe for this team to succeed. And I remember a year ago we were talking about if Connor Hellebuyck would even stay with the Jets and if they were going to blow everything up last summer. Well, thank God they didn't do that. And thank God things are working out for the Jets, because look where they are right now. First in the Central Division, one of the better divisions in the National Hockey League, right? On any given night, it's Dallas, Winnipeg, or Colorado at the top of the Central Division. And I don't think too many people were expecting Winnipeg to be in that conversation the way that they have been. And the fact that they're second in the National Hockey League standings, is very, very exciting and very inspiring for this team. And, considering they're a team on the West Coast, or not the West Coast, but in the Western Conference, doesn't come to New York all that often, there was a decent amount of Jets fans there the other night at the game I went to. And I think the hype is real right now in Winnipeg, and a lot of fans are seeing that, and they're comfortable going into Madison Square Garden. They got very rowdy when they got that 3-1 lead against the Rangers, and this is a team that's confident in what they can do. And despite a lot of, really the Rangers pressing at the end of that game, the Jets had most of the control in that game for the most part. The Rangers' first goal they scored was on the power play, and kind of a tough break early in the second period after their first goal. But other than that, and up until the end of the game, the Jets had done what they needed to do. They were dumping and chasing. They were sticking to the program. They stuck to the plan that they had set. Once they took that lead, they didn't necessarily have to sit on the lead, but they did enough where they didn't have to go crazy with it. Now, looking at the last 5 games, and just looking at this lineup, it's pretty easy to see certain players on this team are really performing, right? Obviously in the top 6, you have, Mark Scheifele with 3 goals, Connor with 4 goals, Toffoli in his first couple games, he's already got a couple of points. He's got 6 points in his first 5 games here. So this is something that if I'm a Jets fan, you have to be really excited about. And as a team right now that is, no longer just trying to make the playoffs, but legitimately be a team that is a force to be reckoned with in the playoffs, the Winnipeg Jets are getting it done right now. And if you look at even their bottom 6, yeah, they're not scoring a ton of goals and they're not getting much production there, but the top guys are carrying this team. Now, will that work come a playoff series, a 7-game playoff series, and teams try to shut down the Jets' top line? Maybe. But as of right now, even against stiff competition like the New York Rangers, this is a really good situation for them. And what's even better for the Jets right now is the rest of their road trip on the East Coast is very favorable. The next 3 games for them to finish out this East Coast road trip before heading back home, their schedule is the Devils on Thursday, the Islanders on Saturday, and I believe the Capitals either on Sunday or Monday. And that will be the toughest test for them in this 3-game stretch. So the fact they were able to beat the Rangers on this trip, pretty much everybody else is beatable. If they're able to beat the Rangers in MSG, the rest of these teams are winnable games. And this could potentially be another 6 points before the Jets head back home to Winnipeg. And, I'm not saying they win all 3. Maybe they win 2 of 3, but that's still a success. I think 2 of 3 here is realistic, and it's something that is attainable for the Jets. And, the way they've been playing right now, I mean, it's really impressive to see what the Jets have been capable of this season and kind of bouncing back from last season. Everybody wants to talk about how good they're playing this season, yes, but it's even more than that. It's more so what we were thinking of this team last year when Rick Bowness was just coming in and taking things over. Guys, there are few coaches in the league that I have more respect for than Rick Bowness. I think what he did in Dallas and what he's doing right now in Winnipeg is truly remarkable. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I don't want to I want to temper the expectations just a little bit, but it's hard not to look at what Rick Bowness did in 2020 during COVID with the Dallas Stars, and I see a lot of similarities between that Winnipeg Jets team that we're seeing today in 2024 and what we saw from the Dallas Stars in 2020. Maybe that means a trip to the Stanley Cup Final. Maybe that means a trip to the Western Conference Final. Either way, I would see that as a very successful season for the Winnipeg Jets, and yeah, if you're in that conversation of maybe going to the conference final or maybe the cup final, well, you know what inevitably comes at the end of the cup final, right? Potentially winning a Stanley Cup. And I think that is a realistic option right now for this team. And, what's kind of interesting is, if you said to me a year ago, which team, I usually make these videos once a year, which Canadian team do I think is next to win the Stanley Cup? And I'm always pretty wrong, right? A couple years ago, it looked like Montreal because they went to the cup final. It's really, since then, it's been between the Leafs and the Oilers. It could be the Canucks or the Jets this year. And I am not totally sold yet on the idea of, Vancouver because of the goalie Demko injured situation, but Winnipeg with Connor Hellebuyck on his game, playing well, there are few goalies better in a 7-game series that I would want on my roster than Connor Hellebuyck. And like I said, you combine that with everything else that's been going well for this team, man, if they could fix that penalty kill just a little bit, get a little bit better on the PK, this is a unstoppable force in Winnipeg, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do in the playoffs. Like I said, I think Western Conference Finals I think that's a benchmark for this team. I think the Jets can realistically get there, and if they get further than that, even better. But I think it's realistic to expect this team to go on a serious run. Now, it depends on who they play in the playoffs, right? If they win the division, they might be still playing a team like Vegas in the playoffs in the wild card. Not necessarily the best situation, but it is a realistic situation at this point. So we'll see what happens, but let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. What do you guys think of the Winnipeg Jets? Do you think they're for real? Do you think this is just a facade and things are going to fall off? Because, man, watching them in person the other day, I got to say, this is a really good hockey team. And if they play like that every night in person, I watched them on TV. It's not the same, but, man, they were dominant against a really good Rangers team. They're a team to watch for. Guys, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Jets.